The Price of Secrets, Blood in the Ledger, Chapter 1. The beautiful lie. The chandeliers flickered like constellations, suspended in glass and money. Elena Ward stood at the edge of the ballroom, a champagne flute untouched in her hand, watching politicians and CEOs laugh too loudly under the glow. Musicians played something elegant and forgettable. Cameras flashed like small, hungry insects. Nathaniel Cross owned the room. He always did. He was midway through some carefully rehearsed story. A charming pause here, a self-deprecating smile there. Women leaned closer. Men clapped his back. A senator laughed until he wiped tears. The photographers loved him because he fed them the illusion of a benevolent king. He turned slightly, found Elena across the crowd, and smiled. It should have reassured her. Instead, something inside her recoiled. His smile was too perfect, too curated, like a photograph of a person she used to know. He excused himself, glided through donors and diplomats, and kissed her cheek. The scent of his cologne, expensive, crisp, made her think of winter air and locked doors. "You disappeared," he said softly. "I needed air," she replied. He glanced past her shoulder, always scanning, always calculating. "Try to look like you're enjoying yourself. The foundation needs these people." The foundation. Clean water initiatives. Refugee education. Medical research. Beautiful causes that hid pipelines of influence. She nodded because she always nodded. What bothered her wasn't the distance. It was the certainty, the feeling that this distance had been planned. Later that night, when the gala ended and the mansion lay quiet, Elena looked out over the manicured gardens from the balcony off their bedroom. The night was still, until it wasn't. A black sedan idled at the edge of the estate road. Lights off, engine running, her breath caught. The car stayed a moment too long, then slipped away into the dark. She waited for her heart to slow. It didn't. Chapter 2. The Surveillance. The first camera she found was an accident. A hairline crack in the molding near the office doorway. She leaned closer. The crack blinked back. A pinhole lens. Her skin went cold. She walked slowly, deliberately, as if the walls were listening. In the guest bedroom, another camera, tucked behind a vent. In the kitchen ceiling fixture, another, always facing the center of the room, always pointed at her. By afternoon, she had found 14. She sat at the kitchen table, hands clasped, breathing through panic. Nathaniel walked in. He kissed her hair. "You're quiet today," she swallowed. "Just tired." He smiled, but his eyes never warmed. "You should take your medication." He opened the cabinet, a row of brown prescription bottles, all in her name, antipsychotics, mood stabilizers, something she didn't recognize. He placed one pill on the counter. "I'm not sure I need." "Elena." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. She took the pill, let it rest on her tongue, pretended to swallow. He watched, then kissed her forehead and left the room. She slipped the pill into her napkin. Later, in the bathroom, she opened the bottle. The pharmacy label bore her name. The doctor's name was unfamiliar. The handwriting looked traced, not written. She searched the internet for side effects, hallucinations, disorientation, memory gaps. Her reflection stared back from the mirror, pale, uncertain. She whispered, "What are you doing to me?" The house didn't answer, but somewhere in the walls, a red recording light flickered. Aiden Cole didn't look like someone who once chased corruption across continents. He looked tired. Coffee-stained papers covered his desk. Old newspaper clippings layered the walls. A single window let in thin, reluctant daylight. "I told your friend I don't take private clients," he said. "She said you used to expose men like my husband," Elena replied. He watched her carefully, reading more than she spoke. "Who is your husband?" "Nathaniel Cross." The name hung between them. He exhaled slowly. "Sit." He opened an encrypted laptop and typed for what felt like hours. Firewalls. Private databases. Court dockets hidden behind sealed orders. Finally, he turned the screen. Her throat tightened. Confidential legal motions, affidavits, psychiatric evaluations, all about her. Filed 8 months ago. Claiming she had paranoid delusions, self-harm tendencies, dangerous emotional instability. Photos, blood on a bathroom sink, a broken glass, a smear on tile. She had never seen them before. Some only staged these, Aiden said. Professionally. Clean, controlled. There are digital fingerprints from offshore editing firms. These filings don't aim at divorce. What then? He looked at her with something close to pity. Guardianship, long-term care, power of attorney transferred to your husband. He switched to another tab. An insurance policy in her name, accidental death clause, double payout if ruled suicide. She felt the room tilt. Aiden leaned in. This isn't about anger, Mrs. Ward. It's architecture. Someone is constructing a narrative around you. Her voice trembled. Why? He said nothing, because they both already knew. Chapter 4. The Art of Disappearing. Lila Mercer listened without blinking. Psychologist, friend. Quietly loyal. They sat on Lila's office couch. Book-lined walls, warm lamplight, rain tapping against the windows. You need to leave, Lila said. I can't. Elena, if I run, he wins. He frames me. He controls everything, Lila folded her hands. Then you have to become something he doesn't recognize. What does that mean? Calm, controlled. Predictable, agreeable. You do not accuse. You do not investigate where he can see. You act small while thinking big. And inside, Lila said softly, you go very, very cold. So Elena practiced. She trained herself to answer without emotion, to slow her breathing when panic clawed at her chest. To memorize, not react, to lie without blinking. Nathaniel came home late. She kissed him, asked about his day, laughed at the right moments. Inside, her mind mapped exits, cameras, timing, patterns. At night, he wrapped his arm around her. She stayed awake, staring at the moon-silvered curtains. The marriage now had two lives, the one Nathaniel controlled, and the hidden one Elena began building, brick by brick, in silence. Chapter 5. The Network. Aiden met her in a coffee shop with no cameras, no Wi-Fi, cash only. Everything about your husband is layered, he said quietly. He doesn't just hide assets, he hides structures, ownership inside ownership. He slid folders across the table, private security company, Shell-controlled. A charity that routed money to offshore trusts, a medical research firm that owned a private psychiatric facility in a country with no extradition. A name appeared repeatedly, the Argo Consortium. Elena frowned. What is that? Aiden's jaw tightened. It's not a company. It's an agreement. Wealth pooled for mutual protection. Old families, new tech empires, Russian investors, Gulf states, a network built to make consequences optional, and Nathaniel is part of it. Aiden nodded. He's not the top. He's a steward, useful, replaceable. She felt cold. So if I expose him, he becomes a liability, Aiden said. Liabilities get removed by them, or by accident. He paused. Your house, your prescriptions, the cameras, the legal filings. This isn't one man's paranoia. This is protocol. She gripped the table edge. Aiden leaned in. You're not fighting your husband anymore, Elena. His voice dropped to a near whisper. You're standing inside a machine that erases people. Outside, rain blurred the city into streaks of gray. Inside, Elena finally understood to survive, she would have to dismantle something larger than Nathaniel Cross, without letting it notice her. Not yet. Aiden met her in a coffee shop with no cameras, no Wi-Fi, cash only. Everything about your husband is layered, he said quietly. He doesn't just hide assets. He hides structures. Ownership inside ownership. He slid folders across the table. Private security company, Shell-controlled. A charity that routed money to offshore trusts. A medical research firm that owned a private psychiatric facility. In a country with no extradition, a name appeared repeatedly. The Argo Consortium, Elena frowned. What is that? Aiden's jaw tightened. It's not a company, it's an agreement. Wealth pooled for mutual protection. Old families, new tech empires, Russian investors, Gulf states. A network built to make consequences optional, and Nathaniel is part of it. Aiden nodded. He's not the top. He's a steward, useful, replaceable. She felt cold. So if I expose him, he becomes a liability, Aiden said. Liabilities get removed by them, or by accident. He paused. Your house, your prescriptions, the cameras, the legal filings. This isn't one man's paranoia. This is protocol. She gripped the table edge. Aiden leaned in. You're not fighting your husband anymore, Elena. His voice dropped to a near whisper. You're standing inside a machine that erases people. Outside, rain blurred the city into streaks of gray. Inside, Elena finally understood, to survive, she would have to dismantle something larger than Nathaniel Cross, without letting it notice her. Not yet. Chapter 6. The Banker in the River. The banker agreed to meet at a public pier. Neutral ground, cameras, people, safe. Elena and Aiden waited under a rusting canopy while gulls screamed overhead. The water below slapped pilings, black and slow. A car pulled up. A middle-aged man stepped out, nervous eyes, raincoat too heavy for the weather. He clutched a leather briefcase like it might keep him alive. He never made it across the parking lot. A second car drifted in behind his. Something about it felt wrong. Too casual, too slow. Aiden stiffened. Don't move, he muttered. The banker's phone buzzed. He glanced down. Then he turned away. Back to his car. He got in. Driver's doors opened in both vehicles. Two silhouettes. No shouting. No struggle. Just quiet conversation. Then, almost politely, both cars rolled toward the far edge of the lot, where the asphalt broke into a sloping ramp. The banker's brake lights flickered, then vanished into the black water. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. The river closed over the roof. Bubbles rose. Then silence. Aiden grabbed her arm. We didn't see anything. Her voice cracked. Someone drowned. He looked at her, something haunted and tired in his eyes. Number someone was erased. Sirens came eventually. By then, they were gone. On the evening news, the anchor called it a tragic accident. They showed a photo of the banker smiling with his wife, then moved on to sports. That night, Elena lay awake, counting breaths, counting cameras, knowing now that numbers had limits. But the machine did not. Chapter 7. The Driver. A new driver appeared the next morning. Nathaniel introduced him casually. Former military, discreet. Reliable. You'll like him. Tall, scar on his jaw. Pale eyes that took in everything without appearing to look. On the first ride, he never used the radio. Traffic flowed. Silence pressed. At a red light, he spoke softly, like a priest in confession. Mrs. Ward, may I offer you advice? She swallowed. Of course. If I were you, I wouldn't wander outside your routine. Predictability keeps people safe. Her palms dampened. Safe from what? He smiled without warmth. From misunderstandings. Later, he dropped her at the charity headquarters. Before she could step out, his hand touched her wrist. Not hard, just enough. If you run, he whispered, they won't find you. Then he let go. She walked into the building on shaky legs. In her office, she closed the door and leaned against it, pulse stuttering. Predictability, erasure. Every move seen, every misstep corrected. She realized something awful. The driver wasn't threatening her. He was warning her, within roles. Within orders, within limits he couldn't break, but could bend slightly to let truth slip out like contraband. And if he could bend them, others could tighten them. Chapter 8. The files they weren't supposed to see. Aiden broke into the private server at 3 a.m. Lines of code scrolled across the laptop. Elena sat beside him in the dark kitchen, mug clutched like a talisman. Then a folder appeared. Vault the feed Arxi Thongi E. Ward. Aiden hesitated. You ready? She nodded. Inside, scans of falsified counseling notes, therapy session, transcripts that never happened, mental breakdown reports. Time-stamped for future dates, fake incident, photos staged in rooms she recognized but had never bled in. Her heart hammered. This isn't evidence, Aiden said. It's inventory. At the bottom of the directory retention, he opened it. There were contingency plans outlining Fondai long-term psychiatric residency, offshore Fondai relocation protocols, identity restriction, guidelines, Sondai sedative schedules, disguised as treatment, and then a final file. Final remedy. Do not execute without board consent, assigned draft authorization. Not submitted. Not yet. Her name filled the top of the page. The reason? Unmanageable narrative risk. She stared at the wording. Not dangerous, not unstable. Narrative risk. Aiden whispered, almost reverently. They aren't afraid you'll kill someone. They're afraid you'll talk and be believed. There were signatures at the bottom. Nathaniel's victorious placeholder. and a council of initials she didn't recognize, ACMRLVHK, anonymous power. Quiet power. Power that signs nothing in ink, unless absolutely necessary. Elena's breath came slow now, controlled cold. "So," she said, voice steady, "we expose the board." Aiden looked at her. "Expose a ghost, Elena. You can't kill something that doesn't officially exist." She didn't blink. "Then we make it show itself." Chapter 9. The Gala. They chose the gala deliberately. Cameras, donors, journalists, witnesses. Elena wore a black dress, simple, quiet, unthreatening. Nathaniel, immaculate as always, whispered in her ear before they entered the ballroom. "You look perfect." Something like regret flickered across his expression. Or maybe she imagined it. The music swelled. Glasses clinked. Aiden was in the control room, deep in the building's belly. Victoria stood across the room, rigid, pale. She wouldn't look at Elena. At precisely 9:14 p.m., the screens meant for donor slides went black, then lit up with documents, shell corporations, laundered funding trails, offshore trusts. Then, Elena Ward, her face, her fake diagnosis, her pre-written breakdown. A murmur rolled across the ballroom. Photographers snapped. Someone shouted. Nathaniel's partners pushed through the crowd toward him in a sudden violent wave of panic. Security surged. The music died. Then, the driver appeared at Elena's side. "Stay with me." He guided her through a service corridor, calm, efficient. Too efficient. Aiden's voice buzzed through her earpiece. "Don't go with him." The driver smiled gently, as though hearing it. "Elevator." She stopped walking, he sighed. "I tried," he said quietly. He reached for her. Aiden arrived too fast, weapon drawn. Face pale. The fight was short, ugly, real. A fall, a crack. A breath sucked through teeth. The driver slid to the floor, bleeding, not dead, but finished. He met Elena's eyes. "You should have stayed predictable," he whispered. Then closed his. Elena's hands shook, not with fear, with a strange, chilling clarity. Aiden grabbed her. "Move." They slipped away, sirens screaming through the building. And somewhere, above them, the Argo Consortium watched their screens. And adjusted. Chapter 10. The message. Nathaniel was arrested. Not at the gala, later, quietly. No cuffs, no cameras, just a quiet escort into a black government sedan, like a diplomat on an unscheduled trip. He did not look back at Elena. He didn't need to. By morning, half the leaked files vanished from every platform. Links broke. Articles retracted. Statements clarified. The banker's death remained an accident. The psychiatric facility remained humanitarian. The consortium remained rumor. 3 witnesses disappeared. 1 moved abroad. 1 took early retirement. 1 died unexpectedly. Victoria resigned from everything and evaporated. Aiden disappeared. Phone dead. Apartment emptied. Gone. Serena sold a carefully curated version of reality to the media and became a brand. And Elena, she inherited silence, money, power, control over the charity, and a reputation bruised into something useful, unstable, emotional, unreliable, perfect camouflage. Late one night, Elena sat alone on the balcony. City lights spread below like circuitry. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, a single message. "You survived." That was the test. Welcome to Argo. No threat, no reassurance. An invitation, a choice wrapped in inevitability. Elena stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Then, slowly, deliberately, she deleted it. Not because she was safe, because she finally understood the rule. Power doesn't knock on doors. It builds the house around you. And if she wanted to live, truly live, she would have to become something the consortium did not anticipate. Something that does not fit their plans. Something they cannot predict. She turned off the phone, and in the silence, the city pulsed darker than ever.